Thank you for auditing the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who is finally going to be reviewing the album Burning Desire by Mike. All caps. Now what took me so long? I've gotten so many comments on all my videos. When are you reviewing Mike? When are you reviewing Burning Desire? Like, when will you get to it? Everybody knows that I'm going to love it and that I'm going to have something to say. But this is what happened to me. The album came out almost a month ago, and I was like 4 songs in when I listened to it for the first time. And I made a couple realizations. One, I didn't pick up a single word that was said the entire time. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm in my mid-40s or what. If I'm becoming my dad, who famously said he had trouble hearing consonants. I don't really know what it is, but I just realized, I'm listening to this album by this artist who I am told by people who I respect is really good, yet I haven't picked up a single word. And that made me realize this other thing, which was that this album might be impossible to review. I don't know what I'm going to title this video. It's going to be something along the lines of I can't review Burning Desire by Mike. The reason why is that it seems to simultaneously invite and defy analysis in equal measure. It is a work of sort of stunning singular vision and self-produced art, while at the same time it is a total, as you kids these days say, a total vibe. And describing and analyzing vibes is very difficult. Whether you're talking about shoegazy rock or Atlanta trap music, if something is very, very vibe-laden, describing it and defining it is often, it's not pointless, but it can be repetitive. And what's funny is, over the last week or so, maybe even the last month, I've been a little bit despairing, hip-hop and rap music are my bread and butter, motherfucker, and I haven't been reviewing as many rap albums as I normally do. And what I realized in preparing this review, where I just finally decided, enough people want me to do it, that I want to respect them for liking my videos enough to really give this the time of day, because I could tell it was a good piece of art, I just didn't know if I had anything to say about it. What I came to realize is it's sort of a perfect combination of the last 2 rap albums I reviewed. ITS by A$AP Rock, and yes, A Great Chaos by Ken Carson. No, Skye, you can't compare an underground rap guy who has the stamp of approval from Earl Sweatshirt to Ken Carson. I absolutely can. What I came to love about this album, and it's made by a young guy. He's 25 years old. This isn't like some guy who's been around for 20 years and he's been on the underground, he's been bubbling. No, he's just like a young guy who's coming out and making rap music that sounds like some other older guys. But realistically, let's compare it to Ken Carson. Let's compare it to what people might call rumble trap, or what I called zombie trap. The spoken language is not super clear. I don't think he doesn't talk about being on syrup, but the amount that he does not enunciate his words is artful, but is also marked, right? Much like that Ken Carson album and many other sort of avant-garde mainstream southern trap albums, it's not really verse, chorus, bridge, chorus. It's not like hook, bars, hook, bars, hook, bars. It's like verse, maybe something else, and then here's the next song, and you're like, wait, that was a song? And by the way, none of this is sneak dissing or overt dissing. This is all praise, okay? The reason that it sounds like a diss is because this is why I do this channel. I don't do this channel to make Skrilla talking about the Beatles. I do make Skrilla talking about the Beatles. Good for me. But, I know the Beatles. I can understand the Beatles. But this is what is fascinating, is that understanding this album in conjunction with something like A Great Chaos by Ken Carson, we can see a certain evolution of rap music that is happening now. The sort of creation and propagation of what I call songlets. Not quite songs, but it seems like it's an in-between an interlude and its own song. Now, this might be partly due to the fact that rap artists are rewarded for having very long albums with many different tracks. So instead of having one song with 3 parts, have 3 songs with 1 part, and that way you can have 3 different streams. But this album has a lot of those traits. I'm not saying this is a Drake album. I'm saying it has more in common with the Drake album than most people would like. And I say that not as a Drake hater. I say that as a Drake lover. We must embrace this all, because what we're seeing with something like Ken Carson, the more downbeat sort of opium sound from time to time, maybe even Destroy Lonely, and this is a sort of low energy era. I also talked about Larry June and Earl Sweatshirt, who are on this album, and it speaks to the moment. You know, when I teach hip hop, all I do is just say over and over again, music reflects life. You know, musical change, musical habits reflect our life. And it makes a lot of sense that we live in a time of hyperpop and this kind of Jeb Bush low energy music that is completely vibe. Like, we are in the world of the anti-vibe and the vibe. So the anti-vibe, all the Gexy, hyperpop, frantic insanity reflects the way that we feel that life is shoving information at us at all times and we can't possibly think. We just can't think. Just give me a second to think without... I want to think about one thing, but I can't because I got to think about 5 different things. And then this kind of music, which sets it down, which informs us we need to slow the fuck down. We need to not work harder. We need to work less. We don't need to be more efficient. We need to chill. and that's why this album escaped me the first time through. I am, this might not surprise you, not a chill guy. I like input. I like upbeat. The Aesop Rock album with all the specific bars and bars and bars and beats and beats and bars and bars and beats and beats. I am all about it. I can dissect that. I can analyze it. Whereas this album, it was 4 songs before I picked up a single word. Now, all that said, maybe you're pissed, maybe you're not. The line between good underground rap and mainstream mumble trash is not a line I think we need to focus on. Okay? That's one of my main theses, is that there is no such thing as high rap and low rap. When I got to interview Billy Woods, the most disappointed I was in talking to him was how he sort of laughed when I asked him if he listened to Future. It's like, of course you should listen to Future. Of course you should listen to Woods. It's all happening all right now. It's all, it's all reflecting everything around us, and we can see it all at this time. So here we have this indecipherable album, which now that I've listened to it, 5 or 6 times, now that I've sat with it with Lyric Genius, I can start to pick up what he's saying when he raps. And what really struck me on this is the production. So it's mostly what I would just straight qualify as vaporwave. If you're not aware of vaporwave, it's a musical genre which some claim was invented by JPEG Mafia. I don't know enough. Every time I mention vaporwave, people in my comments say, "Did you know that JPEG Mafia invented it?" And then every time I say JPEG Mafia invented vaporwave, someone says, "False, not based." So I don't know what the truth is. But I will say that it's a music genre which I immediately understood. Despite my age, the first time I heard a slowed down 70s R&B song accompanied with images of an abandoned mall, I understood what this art was about. I understood the feeling it was trying to go for. And this album is largely vaporwavy, with a flow that matches it. So if you're dropping vaporwave beats, and you're then delivering lyrics that are super clear, then it doesn't work at all. Like, he has to have this flow to match this beat. Like I said a couple times now, it is a piece of art, is a single unit of this thing. Whatever this album is, it is a perfect unit of it. Of this sleepy, gauzy, dreamy, gazy, vapory, wavy. Okay? Tell me in the comments, how would you type up Because this album's okay? That's my analysis. Professor Skye says, Burning Desire by Mike is a positive. Okay? You can't write that down. There's no way to spell it. That's what this album is. Now, about this guy himself. Mike. This guy, okay, when we go into like what is a punk, right? Like, what is a punk? You know, you think of punk and you think of tattoos or nose rings and spiky hair. That's all fashion. Okay, real punk is understanding the system and not bowing to it. Understanding what might hurt you, but that you have to do in your own vision, despite what the system wants you to do. Mike is the single worst rap name you can possibly have. Not only did I think that when people were asking me, you need to review the new Mike album, they were talking about Open Mike Eagle, which is like, I already reviewed the Open Mike Eagle album. Okay? But there's such a thing called SEO, search engine optimization. And one of the most punk things you can do right now is just say, fuck your SEO. My name is Mike. Good luck finding me. There's a different rap artist by the name of Mike who released an album this year or last year. So even if you look up Mike on Tidal, you find a different person. Also, happens to be, he spent some time in America, some time in England, and the part of England where he lived was Hackney in London. So the Rolling Stones came out with an album in October called Hackney Diamonds. I would put forth this is the real diamond from Hackney. The thing that I really want to praise this the most for is that basically you can have a little toggle in your head, and you can go focus or unfocus. And if you focus, you can listen to the lyrics, you can break down the beats, you can really get into this kind of interesting tapestry that he's painting, this sort of weird, fake African story. I don't really know, but it's some kind of thing. And you can listen to the beats and the way it's pitched up and goes there and makes it. Or you can go unfocus. And let your eyes kind of blur and things become a little bit blurry. And all of a sudden, the album invades you in a different way. Also, it's worth mentioning, I'm going to be doing a new year-end category for my albums of the year, the Bismarck, okay, for the best self-produced rapper, a rapper who produces his own beats. He goes by the name DJ Black Power, but it's just the same guy, and this album is truly impressive in that way. I did want to talk about the album cover because I immediately understood what it was, and maybe you didn't. I understood what it was because I'm a Star Wars collector, and in the Star Wars collecting community, there's a subset of people who buy artwork made on the back of flour sacks from artists from Ghana who make very strange movie paintings based on a sort of fuzzy understanding. This is from some article I found. There's The Godfather, there's Jurassic Park, there's E.T. Okay? The scariest thing on that poster is Michael Jackson. The beauty of these is their sort of naivete, they're kind of outside art, but also there's a kind of weird, otherworldly, like peaceful, funny violence to them that is really echoed by Mike's album cover itself. And I think that's pretty intentional. I mean, if you look at the album cover, you can even see that it has the same little signature down there on the bottom. So this helps us to understand that this is sort of a concept album and sort of not. And in that way, it's a lot like the Aesop Rock album, which is sort of a concept album, but sort of not. Before I actually get into the album, smash the like bucket, subscribe, even though I just compared this guy to Ken Carson. Ken Carson, by the way, what's on the front of the Ken Carson album? Ken Carson with fangs. What's on the cover of this album? Vampire. The mic is actually mounted on top of my phone, so I can't drop the mic without dropping the camera, but that's a mic drop moment. So if you like thoughts like that, subscribe, smash the like bucket. I don't do sponsorships, so my sponsorship is don't trust other YouTubers when they promote things. They don't believe in those products, okay? So it's okay. Don't buy supplements, ever. It's a scam. Okay? Don't buy supplements. You hear me? And don't gamble. Those are my two sponsorships for the day. You can support me on Patreon if you want. I apologize that my dog Bo is snoring. It's so beautiful over there. I don't want to disrupt them. Look at how they're just sitting in the sun. You see, they are taking the lessons right now. They are just living their best life. They are just chilling out there. And maybe maybe having a little bit of dog snoring in the background will thematically fit. If you leave in a comment the letters AVAA, that stands for awesome video as always, I read every comment and I can prove it by hearting any comment that says AVAA. Now let's get to the album. I want to get to the album with track 1, which is 4 tracks at least. It starts off with something called Intro with Klein, these warped voices and pianos clapping in the back. Eventually there's some African chanting. There's a lot of African stuff in this album, and I assumed that it was going to be like a Billy Woods or Earl Sweatshirt situation where he has some kind of direct connection to Africa. I don't think he does, or at least not that I read in his biography, but I don't think it matters, you know. But it's interesting because I expected some kind of story about his father being from Côte d'Ivoire or something like that. As far as I can tell, that's not the case. There's a narrator who's explaining the story. And the story is about a mask maker who's mediocre and on a revenge fest. And you think that's what this album's going to be about, and it's not really. It is about this, though. She says, this is what you call a dark romantic horror with comedic twists. That's the album. Okay? I don't think the album is a theme album. I don't think it's a theme album all about like this African mask carver and all that story, but it is a dark romantic horror with comedic twists. The next part of the first track is track 2 called Dambe, which is apparently a martial arts, according to Lyric Genius, by the Hausa people of Nigeria. Cool, chunky underwater beat. I'm telling you, everything here is very shoegazy, dreamy, a nice little percussion there, very vaporwave feeling, just all these mumbled bars. Even when I go to like listen to it, like what is picked up is not what I expect. Guitar pick, I want to rule the city like Scarface, some Czar shit. It's like sometimes when I pick up the lyrics that he's rapping, they're not underground rapper lyrics. They're like mainstream rapper lyrics. Like, I want to be the best and I want to be the best, you know? Like this. Cool voices in the back and then an explanation of an African mask. Maybe this is the mask that the main character is making. I don't know. Around the chin or leopard teeth. And it blends perfectly into the next track. I'm telling you, these first 4 tracks, you're like, wait, that was 4 tracks? It's not one? We get Zap with these big horns and this great resetting, disconcerting sample. So many of these samples are just like you can't really. This is not for the Jeeps. This is not a Jeep beat album, you know, where you just put it in and get the subwoofers going. And not at all. It's like things like resettling, and you're kind of like a little bit uncomfortable. What was that phrase from that first line? A dark romantic horror with comedic twists. That's what it is. And then if you even like actually break it down, if you actually find the lyrics like I did on Genius, thankfully, they are pretty interesting. His style is pretty avant-garde. His flow is very stilted and odd, disfigured and distorted. She dig in my report. I symbolize the issues, all the missions to the court. I prickle like a thorn. Be civilized for have to kick you to the floor. It's business ties, prezzies like a in the morgue. Just like, I don't get any of that. I don't really understand what all of it means. There's kind of a chorus on here as well. Little dimey on my ass, guess we sliding me and Yat. I can't keep the stacks. I be burying what they have. I don't know. And more importantly, I'm not sure how much it matters that I know. And then a great sort of outro here. I can see Africa in these 3 objects. In these objects, sort of this idea of being able to connect to a place through an object. And because you've seen the album cover, you imagine the mask itself as the thing you're thinking about. And then we get to African Sex Freak Fantasy, which he may have lost to the Bismarck because he does not produce every track on this album. So, I don't know. But a really, really cool, like dirty, funky, compressed drum line leads in perfectly from the last song, and just more of these weird, otherworldly lyrics. I do the most for the cheese, more for your respect, jumping out his B. I think it's subtle, but I do the most for the cheese. Again, I'm trying to understand how this is super different. Like, thematically, this is pretty much on track with a lot of mainstream rap. I do stuff for money. And then we finally get our first break, another song produced by someone else named Laron, Snake Charm, cool, like kind of a smoky sound on the Well, it's not a clavicle. Oh, we're gonna get hypothetical all up on his clavicle. Clavier? What do you call that? What is a clavichord? That's what I'm thinking of. Kind of a clavichord sound, nice hi-hat, just a relentless flow. Just a relentless flow, and I don't pick any of it. And then we get to the next track featuring Earl Sweatshirt, Please Don't Cut My Wings. And at this point on my second listen, I really fell in love with the album. If you go to whosampled.com, you can, I'm not going to sample snitch, but you can go and you can find out what song this sampled. But when you hear the original, this like 80s soft jazz, how anybody would think, oh, that's hip hop. How would anybody think that's hip hop? I don't know. He like pitches it and warps it to the point of where it's just like, you know what? I'm gonna bust this out. It's underneath my camera. Here, I'm gonna bust this out. I haven't. Oh my god. Jeez, I'm making a huge mess over here. I'm gonna bust this out right here. The avant-gardeometer for rap beats. I'm gonna put this at whoa what. Okay, this is a really far out beat. It's almost even freak out just because it is just this really crazy sound. But maybe the fact that he rhymes so calmly, and then he has Earl Sweatshirt come on. What I love is just, even though he's not a mumble rapper, right? Because he's saying important stuff. He's not improvising. He's not just walking in and being like, I got Prezi on my wrist, so I got wrist on my Prezi, and I got drips and my chips on my flezzy, right? Like none of it's like just coming off the dome. He's trying to say things, but the way he says it is just impossible to make out. They follow you on the walk back. My mommy be in my thoughts, my body be in the tall glass. High, but I break the fall. It obviously ain't your fault. You could finally break your dog tags or stay involved. They dying to see me caught bad, tying of staying strong. Yeah, it's poetry. So who cares? I don't know what it means. What is cool is that he has this way. It's almost like enjambment in poetry, but like it sounds like the way they cut the voice together is the first word of the okay, if there's two lines as an example, the last word of the first line occurs simultaneously to the first word of the second line. So it has this kind of like jumping feel where it feels like the next line jumps on top of it. He says, this shit ain't but a thing. There's some shit that every king know. I watch too much soccer these days, so I just heard him say, there's some shit that Harry Kane knows. Striker for Munich. Most overrated player in England. And then we get Earl Sweatshirt, who's just awesome. And this, along with Larry June later, is like, it feels like Earl Sweatshirt walked so that Mike could run, or however that goes. You know, that and I just mean for me personally, being able to hear this kind of laid-back rap and take it seriously and understand it as an expression of a new generation, a different kind of hip-hop ethos, that really, hearing him, like, I'm like, oh, this guy makes total sense. He's speaking super clear. He might as well be a DMC. Like, what he's saying is so clear. Weird, chipped up sounds in the background. And then, like, then we get Real Love, which is just like straight up vaporwave. Now this, I do have to talk about the sample because it's interesting. So the sample is from Mary J. Blige, and if you don't know that, that's okay. You weren't of that age, but you hear the song and you go, oh, that's Mary J. Blige's Real Love, right? He's not trying to hide it anywhere. But it's all kind of chopped up. And what's funny is the original Mary J. Blige song uses the drum beat Top Billing by Audio 2, which takes, I believe, Impeach the President by the Honey Drippers and chops up the beat. So it's boom, jibba-doom, boom, jigga-doom, boom, 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 that boom, 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 that kind, like they took the original drum beat and extended out that bass bit. So it goes awesome. Every time you hear it, you're psyched. Staying Alive by Wyclef is another song that used it. So many songs used it. But that wouldn't work at all with this song. So this guy, Mike, figured out a way to mix in some 1985 song, which I won't sample snitch because that might be a little bit harder to find, kind of a soft rock song, and soft sort of R&B song, and like merges that in so that somehow the Real Love doesn't have in the slowed down version. So one of the most defining features of Real Love, for anybody who knows the song, is that beat. But that beat is gone and the tempo is gone, and what's left is that emotion of Mary J. Blige. And when you hear the song, you know it's Mary J. Blige. You remember hearing the song by Mary J. Blige, but all of a sudden now it's, Jesus, Bo, go easy, would you? Do you hear him snoring as much as I do? I get so paranoid that people want to stop watching my videos because of these damn dogs. Like, it sounds like a broken answering machine or something. I'm like, so this might be my favorite track, even though the lyrics I don't understand. It's someone named Fashion Spitter telling his mom that he loves her. Like, what's going on here? Like it's like a fever dream. It's like I'm waking up and I'm like, am I listening to Mary J. Blige slowed down, but then mixed up with some guy leaving a voicemail for his mom about how he loves him on a rap album about an African mask guy? Oh, I am? Good. That's what I thought was happening. You think maybe is the next song featuring, that's probably not their names, Like and Venna. That looks like there might be some autocorrecting going on here with my computer. I apologize, whoever the other person is here. Another great like guitar and saxophone soul sample, weird kind of rhyming. Like, this is basically sort of like an interlude. Like, at the end of this album, at the end of this song, there's this moment with these like backwards sounds and these voices singing and the saxophone just going super hard. Like, you sort of expect them to break into Careless Whisper at like any time, you know, like, and it's just so strong. And then it goes right into a song called Zombie, the cover of the Cranberries hit. Bad joke. Which is so funny about the song Zombie is I didn't notice it happened. I listened to it. I go and I write down all the names of all the songs, and then I listen to them and I fill in as I go along. And I was like, I didn't hear the song Zombie because it's another songette. Like, it's these mixtures of these songettes that go together that make something better than a song. Songette sounds like I'm insulting it, but I'm not. It's a new form. It's a new form of art. Take a songette. Over before you knew it started. Then we get to Set the Mood, which is full, straight. Don't even try to tell me this isn't just straight vaporwave. Soul sample at different speeds. Weird sort of punishing, weird restatement of the beat. And at the end, there's this other new sound. It gets super pitched up. And this Set the Mood all over the place. Next track is called Billboards with Anula Whoopo. Whoopie. This one sounds like an island jam. I don't know. It sounds like it's just tropical and breezy. These resetting, twirling sounds. In the background, there's this voice that's like part in English and part in I don't know what. And then we get to the song 98, which is like his birth year, which is like weird. Okay? It's weird. That's not long ago. Okay? Being born in 1998 is not long ago. And especially for somebody who can like make something this ambitious, like this artistic, you know, like this feels like it's made by somebody who's in their mid-30s and has kind of figured something out and is doing something kind of cool. This doesn't really feel like that. And again, it doesn't quite get started until the next song, Do You Believe, which is a cover of Cher. Do You Believe in Life After Love? Another bad joke. I swear to God, these are not in my notes. I just come up with them off the top of my dome. That's how unfunny I am. What I like about this song is how much he's really playing with the mechanisms of chopping and screwing and chipmunking and all that stuff. So it goes from slow to normal. And here, he's okay. Is he not dropping triplet flows? It's at least similar to triplet flows. Sorry, there's a reflection on my music stand that's blinding me completely. I'm like, you know, the avant-garde meter was blocking the sun there before. Okay, that's better. Sorry. I can barely see anything. What'd I go through? Have I gotten a like from you yet? Or those things, sometimes people give me money, like, straight up, like, in the comments. Those things are cool. I mean, I can't believe people do it, but there you go. Then we get to the next song, Burning Desire, which I'm not going to look up the samples, because in my idea, there's just one voice that sounds like Isaac Hayes, and so I like to pretend that he just sampled one little bit of Isaac Hayes here. I don't really know what's happening. It's like chime, this upbeat song. His raps are much clearer. On the back half of the album, a lot of that kind of mumbling stuff goes away. Like, he says lines like, "Mama told me about this curse, how I was not above it. I honor her with every word. I would never swap the subject." I heard that perfectly the first time through. So, again, it's not a question of he raps like this because he can't do otherwise. It's he raps like this because that's what he wants. And then he does a thing where he talks about his paper route and then he sort of stops rapping. And go ahead, tell me in the comments. I'm sure it was MF Doom or someone else. I'm always going to credit Kanye and the song 30 Hours for releasing a verse that was not finished. Skye, are you going to review the new Andre 3000 album? Fuck yeah. Not only am I going to review it, I'm going to say exactly what you think I'm going to say about it, and I haven't heard it. It's going to be interesting. Trying to say something that you do not expect me to say on that review. But anyways, the part of that song where he kind of like, I was gonna bust like that kind of like restarting, that stylistic flubbing. It's great here. Next song is called "They Don't Stop the Rain," a Missy Elliott cover. I have to stop. It's not funny. It wasn't funny the first or second time. So this is maybe the catchiest song just because the sample becomes like a hook. They didn't stop the rain, they can't stop. I don't know exactly what it is. They want to litter and berate me, Mike and uppercase me, as simple as my name be. So there he is, addressing the fact that his name does not work with the modern SEO. There appears to be a flip of... So I knew it from Lil' Kim. Like, I know you saw me on the video, true... But there's no way back in the 90s, Lil' Kim and Puffy and Biggie, they were just constantly ripping off like old school rap artists. So I'm sure there's someone else. Please tell me in the comments who, unless that really was Lil' Kim who came up with that. But that feels like, like a lot of rappers did that back then. Like I think about like that line from when I was a little stereo, I want to be a champion. I always wonder when I would be number one. And actually, that's like some old reggae song. Anyways, next track is Baby Jesus. And it's the Christmas song of the year. It's got some screaming on there. Very, very vapor wavy, really out there. I wrote down the lyrics here just because of this is the thing. His vocals give you a certain feeling, a certain kind of spaced out, far out, chilled out feeling. And then you read them, and they don't make you feel any clearer. I took that plane out to Parisia, Sun and Divas. I think it's smarter that I keep four. I dumb it down. Idle minds turn to demons when they run around. I'm living fried, but I'm a seer when I'm coming down. Think you sly why you cheesin' like that wasn't foul? You know my vibe? You know my feet be causing thunder sounds? You need a calm? You need a breather? Next song is called Ho Risin'. Yeah. So I started this whole thing off saying, hey, this guy's a lot more like Ken Carson than you think. I got flying bitches out money, hide it in the couch money. I got so much on the pouch, I think out for me. I mean, the whole song's about having a lot of money, and like it. Oh, okay. Is it satire? Is this satire? Doubt it. Maybe. But if I told you a 23-year-old rapper is releasing a song about having so much money that he can fly women to him, you would be like, okay, yes, I understand. That must be, Lil Tree Nut, right? I'm just trying to come up with a name in my head, right? Oh yeah, it's Lil Tree Nut out of Atlanta who does. One thing I love about this beat is he lets it ride. If I could, I would get. Okay, I don't know. Is there merch for this album? I would have a double album. One album, just the straight album. The other, extended instrumentals. I would love extended instrumentals just because the beats that he makes does everything that his rapping does to put you in that mood. Muscle Beach, I'm telling you, this is just straight up modern rap music. Flossy rap, They're talking about having 10 toes. Okay, you should not. Okay. This is the Professor Skye rule. If anybody in your album refers to having 10 toes, you are no longer underground rap. That's just a modern rap cliche. I love it. There's nothing wrong with it. But if you talk about having 10 toes, you know? All right, tell me in the comments how wrong I am. That sounds like a bad point. Yeah. I retract it, but I'll leave it just so I get the interaction. What I like is that he has other rappers on here who are doing sort of Mike Life stuff, but then when he comes back in, I end up really enjoying it. Do you see what I mean about this album being super long? I don't think it's too long, but it has that kind of bloat feel, that kind of modern bloat. Next track is 16's cool 70s sound. He talks about his ambition in the beginning. I think he might be making reference to the Sistine Chapel as well. His voice kind of pitches up. Next track is Should Be, kind of a drawn out instrumental. Like, this is what I wrote. These are my exact words. Should be. Over? Question mark. Drawn out instrumental. Vibe extender. Interlude. Lila Armani. Real album. Not for analysis. That's all I said. It's this feeling of every song could be an interlude, you know? What you say you are? I don't think that's a Bible quote. No, I don't think so. A really impossible song to dance to. It has kind of a different style flow here. I really like the chorus with this title, and just the way that like he has sort of a hook chorus that gets stuck in your head, but he repeats it so much that it doesn't become like a thing to get stuck in your head. It becomes almost like a mantra. Golden Hour has a line with, "I'm a product of the Jiggy and the Claritin." Is he referring to Claritin, the antihistamine, the only drug that I take? I take it every day. I'm down with C10, you know what I'm saying? That's my drug of choice. You hear my nose, how stuffed up it is? That's with Claritin. I don't know if he's like talking about like, because 98, was 98 the year that Getting Jiggy With It came out? Boy, I don't remember. Anyways. Then Larry June comes on. And again, it's another one of these sleepy MCs, but I'm happy, you know, like Mike and Earl and Larry June, you know, they should get together and record an album, call it like Goodnight Moon or something, you know, like have some kind of connection here where they just work in this space and allow me not to review it. Then we get to Playtime. I took the poster off my wall and put it behind my head, where there's a repetition of the opening quote, but this time by someone with a thick French accent. So I assume it's a reference to the movie Playtime by Jacques Tati, a great movie about our modern condition that was made in the 60s and is more true now than it was then. If you don't believe me, amazingly enough, Video Game Donkey did a review of that movie, which is not as good as watching the movie, but takes a lot less time. And then the album ends with Let's Have a Ball, featuring Mark William Lewis, having a bad SEO battle. Great slow loop, this like doubled up voice. It's just kind of like these like blown out 2600 sounds. And now that I've talked about this album for 40 minutes, and I'm telling you I don't have anything to say about it, I think you see how I do and I don't. And I hope that this review itself echoes the album itself, where it's both something to be talked about and something to be experienced and not talked about at the same time. These are my Patreons. Got some new ones. If it's in blue, it's new, which is pretty cool. It's just another way of saying I can't figure out how to get my printer to link up. I can't get my printer to link up to my computer right now, which is super annoying. Sometimes I ask my Patreons if they want an individual shout out. They can even be over here on the $3 tier. I don't care. You get a shout out. Lucas Fenton and Ken Karaoke. They both want a shout out because they really like this album. So there they go. Matter of fact, I'll check. I'll see if anyone else, because I just posted that this morning. Does anyone else want a Patreon shout out? I got a chat going over there where I respond a lot. It's a really good way to get a hold of me. Let's see here. Is it just the two of those? Yep, Ken and Lucas. All right. Well, until next time, there's the camera.